Subscribe to Infidelity Tales Lab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Chapter 1. The Perfect Crack. Sebastian Wilkinson had always prided himself on his ability to read situations before they unfolded. 12 years in military intelligence had trained him to see patterns where others saw chaos, to predict behaviors before they manifested. That skill had translated well into his civilian career as a security consultant for Fortune 500 companies, where he'd built a reputation for anticipating corporate espionage before it happened. But nothing had prepared him for the sight of his 8-year-old son standing in the doorway with a purple-black eye swollen nearly shut. "Jake!" Sebastian rose from his home office desk, his 6'2" frame suddenly feeling useless against the small, trembling figure before him. "What happened, buddy?" "Jake's good." I darted toward the stairs where his mother, Marcy, had supposedly been working from home all day. The boy's silence was louder than any scream. Sebastian knelt down, bringing himself to Jake's level. His mind was already cataloging details. The defensive posture, the way Jake favored his left side, the tear tracks on his cheeks that suggested he'd been crying for a while. "It's okay. You can tell me." "I fell," Jake whispered, but his voice carried the mechanical quality of a rehearsed line. Sebastian had heard that tone before, in interrogation rooms in Baghdad, from people reciting stories they'd been told to tell. His stomach turned cold. He pulled his son into a gentle embrace, feeling the boy's body stiffen before slowly relaxing. "Go wash up for dinner," Sebastian said softly. "We'll talk later." As Jake disappeared upstairs, Marcy emerged from the master bedroom, her dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail, dressed in yoga pants and a designer hoodie. She'd been home all day, supposedly working remotely for the marketing firm where she'd recently been promoted to senior director. "Oh my God, what happened to Jake?" Her concerns seemed genuine, but Sebastian noticed something. She didn't rush to check on their son. She stayed precisely where she was, 12 feet away, her manicured hands clasped in front of her. "He says he fell," Sebastian replied, watching her carefully. "At school, I assume." "Poor baby," Marcy said, finally moving toward the stairs but at a leisurely pace. "I'll put some ice on it." "I'll handle it," Sebastian said, his voice firm. "You keep working." Something flickered across her face. Annoyance, maybe, or was it relief? It vanished so quickly Sebastian almost questioned whether he'd seen it all. Later that evening, after Jake had picked at his dinner and retreated to his room, Sebastian sat in his office, staring at the family photo on his desk. It had been taken just 6 months ago at their lake house in Michigan. Smiling faces, arms wrapped around each other, the picture of domestic bliss. He and Marcy had been together for 10 years, married for 9. She'd been a junior marketing associate when they met at a corporate security seminar he was conducting. She'd been ambitious, sharp-witted, beautiful. He'd fallen hard. But lately, something had shifted. Small things at first. The way she'd started working late more frequently, the new intensity in her gym routine, the subtle distance that had crept into their conversations. Sebastian had attributed it to the stress of her promotion, to the natural evolution of a long-term marriage. He'd been patient, understanding. Now, looking at his son's haunted expression across the dinner table, he wondered what else he'd been blind to. His phone buzzed. A text from his best friend, Tanner Page, who taught forensic psychology at Northwestern University. "Tanner, still on for Poker Friday? I need to take your money." "Sebastian, rain check." Something came up with Jake. "Tanner, everything okay?" Sebastian stared at the screen. Everything was not okay. Every instinct he'd honed over years of intelligence work was screaming that something was very wrong in his own home. "Sebastian, I'll let you know." He climbed the stairs to Jake's room, knocked softly on the door decorated with superhero posters. "Can I come in, bud?" Jake was sitting on his bed, his tablet playing some mindless video, but his eyes weren't really watching. Sebastian sat down beside him, maintaining a comfortable distance. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" Sebastian said quietly. "No matter what it is, no matter who told you not to say anything, I'm on your team. Always." Jake's lower lip trembled. For a moment, Sebastian thought his son might break, might tell him what really happened. But then the boy's eyes darted to the open door, and his expression closed off again. I fell off the jungle gym, Jake said, his voice hollow. That's what happened. Sebastian's heart ached, but he nodded. Okay, but if you remember differently, or if something else happened, you come find me. Deal. Jake nodded, and Sebastian ruffled his hair gently before leaving. Downstairs, Marcy was on her phone, smiling at the screen in a way Sebastian hadn't seen directed at him in months. When she noticed him, the smile disappeared. How is he? She asked. Quiet, Sebastian replied. Did the school call you today about any incident? No. Why would they? Because our son has a black eye that suggests significant trauma. Schools usually document these things. Marcy's expression tightened. Maybe just happened right before pickup. You're being paranoid, Seb. Paranoid. It was a word she'd been using more frequently lately, always with that particular tone, half concerned, half dismissive, as if she was diagnosing a condition. I'm going to call the school tomorrow, Sebastian said. Check the cameras. For just a second, Marcy's face went blank. Then she laughed. Cameras? You really are in security mode, aren't you? It was an accident, Sebastian. Kids get hurt. Don't make this into some investigation. But it was too late. The seed was planted. Sebastian Wilkinson had spent his career investigating threats, and for the first time, he was starting to wonder if the biggest threat had been in his home all along. Chapter 2. The Footage. Sebastian arrived at Lincoln Elementary School at 7:30 the next morning before most of the staff. Principal Josephine Blake was a stern woman in her 50s who ran the school with military efficiency, something Sebastian appreciated. Mr. Wilkinson, she greeted him in her office, her expression concerned. I got your voicemail. I'm so sorry about Jake's injury. I've checked with all the teachers, and no one reported any incident yesterday. That's what I was afraid of, Sebastian said, settling into the chair across from her desk. Mrs. Blake, I need to see the security footage from yesterday afternoon. Her eyebrows rose. That's unusual. May I ask why? Because my son came home with an injury that suggests significant force, and he won't tell me what happened. Something's wrong, and I need to know what. Josephine studied him for a moment, then nodded. Follow me. The security office was a small room near the main entrance, manned by a retired police officer named William Choi, who handled the school's safety systems. At Sebastian's request, they pulled up footage from the previous afternoon, starting from 2:30 p.m. Sebastian watched the monitor intently. There was Jake on the playground during final recess, playing tag with friends. No falls, no fights, nothing unusual. The footage continued through dismissal at 3:15 p.m. Jake walked out to the parent pickup line, his face unmarked, his eye perfectly normal. Can you show me the parking lot cameras? Sebastian asked, his voice tight. William switched feeds. Sebastian watched as Jake waited in the designated pickup area. Then a silver Lexus SUV pulled up, Marcy's car. But as Jake approached the vehicle, Sebastian leaned forward, his blood running cold. His wife got out of the driver's side. Nothing unusual there. But then the passenger door opened, and a man emerged. Tall, muscular, with dark hair and a cocky swagger. He wore a tight t-shirt and designer jeans. Sebastian watched as Marcy said something to Jake. The boy shook his head. Marcy's body language changed, became aggressive. She grabbed Jake's arm. The boy tried to pull away. And then, the man, this stranger, stepped forward and backhanded Jake across the face. Sebastian's vision tunneled. He watched his son crumple, saw Marcy freeze for just a moment before roughly pulling Jake into the back seat. The man got back in the passenger seat, and they drove away. Jesus Christ, William breathed. Sebastian's hands were gripping the desk, so hard his knuckles were white. I need a copy of this footage. All of it. Multiple backups. Mr. Wilkinson, we need to call the police, Josephine said, her face pale. That's assault. On a child. Not yet. Sebastian's mind was racing, pulling up every interrogation technique, every strategic principle he'd learned. If we call the police now, she'll lawyer up immediately, and this becomes a he said, she said situation. I need to understand what's really happening here first. But that man struck your son, and I will make sure he pays for it, Sebastian said, his voice like steel. But I need to do this right. Give me 48 hours. Keep this quiet for now. Please. Josephine looked uncertain, but something in Sebastian's expression must have convinced her. 48 hours. Then, I'm calling CPS myself. Sebastian nodded and took the USB drive with the footage. His hand was shaking as he walked to his car, but not from fear. From rage. Pure, cold rage that he forced himself to compartmentalize and control. He sat in the parking lot and watched the footage again on his laptop, freeze-framed on the man's face. Then he opened his professional database, a collection of facial recognition software and background check tools he used for corporate security. 20 minutes later, he had a name, Cole Villegas. Age 34, personal trainer and life coach. Multiple addresses over the past 5 years. And there, a connection. Cole Villegas had been tagged in several of Marcy's Instagram posts over the past 3 months. Her fitness trainer, posts Sebastian had seen but never thought twice about. He pulled up Cole's social media. Gym photos, motivational quotes, pictures with various women, always with that same cocky smile. And there, buried in the photos from 2 months ago, Marcy and Cole at some kind of fitness event, standing too close, her hand on his chest. Sebastian's phone rang. Marcy, hey, where are you? She asked, her voice light. I thought you were working from home today. Had an early meeting, Sebastian lied smoothly. How's Jake? Still sleeping. That eye looks pretty bad, though. I'm thinking we should keep him home today. Good idea, Sebastian said. I'll be home in an hour. He hung up and sat in the parking lot, his mind working through scenarios. His wife was having an affair. That much was clear. But why had Cole hit Jake? What had their son done or said that provoked that reaction? And then a darker thought. What if this wasn't the first time? Sebastian pulled out his phone and called Tanner. It's 8 a.m. on a Wednesday, Tanner groaned. This better be good. I need your expertise, Sebastian said quietly. How would I tell if my son was being abused? What sign should I look for? There was a long pause. Seb, what the hell is going on? Can you come over tonight? After Marcy goes to her late meeting, I'll be there at 8. Sebastian drove home, his mind already 3 steps ahead, planning his next moves. He'd spent years anticipating threats, neutralizing them before they could strike. But this was different. This was his family, his son, and he would burn the world down to protect Jake. When he walked in the door, Marcy was making coffee in the kitchen, dressed for work. I thought you'd be home earlier, she said. Traffic was bad. Sebastian poured himself a cup, his movements casual despite the fury coiling in his chest. Where were you at 3 p.m. yesterday? Marcy didn't even blink. Work? Why? Just curious. You said you were working from home. I meant I was working. I had to run into the office for a meeting around 2:30. Didn't get back until almost 5. The lie was smooth, practiced. Sebastian wondered how many others there had been. How's Jake? He asked. Still asleep. I'm going to let him rest. She kissed his cheek, a casual gesture that felt like a betrayal. I have to run. That presentation for the Mitchell account is today. Sebastian watched her leave, then immediately went upstairs to check on Jake. His son was awake, sitting up in bed, staring at nothing. Hey, buddy, Sebastian said softly. How are you feeling? Jake looked at him with those haunted eyes. Dad, am I in trouble? What? No. Why would you be in trouble? Because of what happened. Sebastian sat on the edge of the bed. Jake, I need you to tell me the truth. I already know some of it, but I need to hear it from you. Who hit you? Jake's eyes filled with tears. Mom said if I told you, you'd get really mad and leave us. She said it was my fault for making him angry. Sebastian's heart shattered and reformed harder. Making who angry, Jake? Cole, Mom's friend. He said I was being disrespectful. The words tumbled out now. He told me to call him sir, and I said no because he's not my dad. And then he hit me. Mom didn't stop him, Dad. She just told me to get in the car. Sebastian pulled his son into his arms, holding him while Jake sobbed. Listen to me very carefully, he said, his voice steady despite the rage burning through him. None of this is your fault. Not one single bit. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to fix this. I promise you. Ow, Jake whispered. Sebastian smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. Let me worry about that. You just focus on getting better. After Jake finally fell back asleep, Sebastian went to his home office and locked the door. He He pulled up the security footage again, studied every frame, every detail. Then he opened a new file on his encrypted laptop and titled it Operation Scorched Earth. It was time to show Marcy and Cole exactly who they were dealing with. Chapter 3. The Conspiracy. Tanner Page arrived at 8:15 that evening, carrying a six-pack of beer and his usual irreverent attitude, until he saw Sebastian's face. "Okay, you look like you're planning a murder," Tanner said, setting down the beer. "Should I be worried?" "Yes," Sebastian replied, "but not about me." He showed Tanner the footage. Tanner, normally quick with a sarcastic comment, watched in silence. When it finished, he sat back and ran his hand through his hair. "Jesus, Seb, that's straight-up assault on a minor. You called the police, right?" "Not yet." Sebastian pulled up his laptop. "Because I think this is bigger than just an affair and an abusive boyfriend." Over the next hour, Sebastian laid out everything he discovered. Cole Villegas wasn't just a personal trainer. He'd been involved in 2 suspicious insurance fraud cases with previous partners. Both women had ended up divorced, their ex-husbands somehow losing custody battles despite having clean records. "You think this is a pattern?" Tanner asked. "I think Cole is a predator who targets married women with assets," Sebastian said. "And I think Marcy is either a willing participant or his next victim." Tanner studied the files. "But why hit Jake? That seems like it would hurt their case." "Unless," Sebastian said slowly, "they were trying to make Jake seem troubled. A child with behavioral issues, acting out. It would support a narrative that the home environment is unstable. And if they could make you look like the unstable one, then Marcy gets custody, gets the house, gets my assets, and Cole moves in." Sebastian pulled up another file. "I've been tracking our finances. Marcy's been liquidating small amounts from our joint accounts over the past 6 months. Nothing large enough to trigger alerts, but it adds up to about $40,000. Tanner whistled. "She's planning her exit, which means she's been planning this for a while." Sebastian's jaw tightened. "But there's something else. Look at this." He showed Tanner his coffee mug, specifically the residue he'd saved from yesterday morning. "I sent this to a private lab. Preliminary results show traces of a mild sedative. Not enough to knock me out, but enough to make me foggy, unfocused." "She's been drugging you?" "I think so. I've been feeling off for weeks, missing meetings, forgetting details, things that are completely unlike me. I thought it was stress, maybe early onset of something worse. But now," Sebastian's expression hardened. "Now I think she's been gaslighting me, making me seem incompetent at work." Tanner leaned back, processing. "Seb, this is criminal conspiracy. You need to go to the police right now." "And say what? That I think my wife is drugging me?" "They'll want evidence, which means testing, which means time. Time for her to destroy evidence, to spin this into me being paranoid and unstable. Exactly the narrative she's building." Sebastian shook his head. "No, I need to outplay them at their own game. This is insane. This is war." Sebastian's eyes were cold. "And I don't lose wars." Over the next week, Sebastian became a ghost in his own home. He pretended to drink his coffee, actually dumping it and refilling with fresh brew from a thermos he kept in his car. He played the role of the confused, slightly erratic husband perfectly. He forgot meetings. He seemed distracted. He watched Marcy's confidence grow as she exchanged knowing looks with Cole during their training sessions at the gym. Because yes, Sebastian had started going to the same gym, had started watching, learning Cole's patterns, his habits, his weaknesses. Cole Villegas was arrogant, sloppy. He bragged about his conquests on social media. He had a temper that flared when he didn't get his way. And most importantly, he had no idea that Sebastian Wilkinson wasn't just some clueless corporate drone. Meanwhile, Sebastian installed hidden cameras throughout his house, legal in Michigan for security purposes. He documented every interaction between Marcy and Cole when the man started coming to training sessions at their home gym. He watched as they kissed in his kitchen, as they laughed about how out of it Sebastian had been lately. "He's losing at work," Marcy said on one video, her voice casual. "His boss called me yesterday, concerned. Said Sebastian missed a major presentation." Cole grinned. "The dosage is perfect then. Not enough to make him suspicious. just enough to make him look incompetent. How much longer? Marcy asked. Another month. We need to establish a clear pattern. Then you file for divorce, cite his mental decline, get custody of the kid, and we're set. Marcy finished. She wrapped her arms around Cole's neck. God, I can't wait to be done with him. He's so boring, so predictable. Sebastian watched this footage in his office, his face impassive. Predictable. Yes, he let them think that. He'd also been busy. Through his corporate contacts, he'd discovered that Cole had outstanding warrants in Nevada for fraud. He'd compiled evidence of the previous divorces where Cole had been involved, showing a clear pattern. He'd documented every cent Marcy had stolen, every dose of sedative in his coffee. He'd switched to secretly dumping it and recording her preparing it, every lie she'd told. But he needed more. He needed them to reveal themselves completely, to do something so egregious that there would be no coming back. And then opportunity presented itself. Jake's becoming a problem, Cole said on the surveillance footage from the home gym. It was late afternoon, and Marcy had picked Jake up from school. The boy was upstairs in his room. He keeps giving me attitude. Keeps saying I'm not his father. He's 8, Marcy said. He'll adjust, or we make this easier. Kids with behavioral issues, history of aggression, those kids don't stay with their fathers during custody battles. Sebastian watched as Marcy's face changed. For just a moment, she looked uncertain. What are you suggesting? I'm saying that if Jake had a few more incidents at school, a few more injuries that your husband can't explain, the judge would have serious concerns about Sebastian's fitness as a parent. You want to hurt him again? I want to secure our future, Cole said coldly. That kid is the only thing standing between us and your husband's money. We make Sebastian look neglectful or abusive. We get full custody, and you take him for everything he's worth in the divorce. There was a long pause. Then Marcy nodded. Okay, but not at school again. Too risky. Leave it to me, Cole said. Sebastian stopped the recording. His hands were perfectly steady as he picked up his phone and called Bernardo Patton, the best family law attorney in Chicago. Bernardo, it's Sebastian Wilkinson. I need you to clear your schedule. We're going to war. What kind of war? Sebastian smiled, cold and sharp. The kind where I win. Chapter 4, The Setup. Sebastian Wilkinson had learned 3 fundamental principles during his 12 years in military intelligence: patience, precision, and the element of surprise. His work had taken him from the dusty streets of Baghdad to corporate boardrooms in Manhattan, but the core strategy never changed. Understand your enemy better than they understand themselves, and strike when they're most vulnerable. Now, sitting across from Bernardo Patton in a downtown Chicago law office, Sebastian was putting those principles into action. Bernardo was a short, compact man in his late 50s with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He'd built his reputation defending executives in hostile takeovers and high-stakes divorces. He was expensive, ruthless, and exactly what Sebastian needed. Let me make sure I understand, Bernardo said, reviewing the file Sebastian had provided. Your wife and her boyfriend have been systematically drugging you, planning to frame you as an unfit parent, and are now discussing physically harming your son to strengthen their custody case? Correct. And you have video evidence of all of this? Hours of it. Sebastian pulled up his laptop. Audio, video, financial records, witness testimony from Jake, the school surveillance footage, lab results from the coffee samples. Bernardo watched several clips, his expression darkening. This is felony conspiracy, assault on a minor, criminal poisoning. Sebastian, you could go to the police right now and have both of them arrested. I could, Sebastian agreed. But Marcy would make bail immediately. She'd hire a good lawyer, maybe even you if I wasn't your client, and this becomes a long, drawn-out legal battle. Meanwhile, Jake is caught in the middle, traumatized by the process. So what's your alternative? Sebastian leaned forward. I want them to dig themselves so deep that there's no way out. I want evidence so overwhelming that no jury, no judge, no lawyer could possibly defend them. And I want them to think they're winning right up until the moment they realize they've lost everything. Bernardo studied him. You want revenge. I want justice. There's a difference. Sebastian's voice was cold. Cole Villegas has done this before. He finds successful men with assets, seduces their wives, and helps engineer divorces where the woman ends up with everything. Then he moves on to the next target. I found at least 3 other cases. The pattern is identical. He pulled up files on his laptop. Tiffany Jennings, divorced 2 years ago. Husband lost custody of their daughter, claiming the wife had become abusive. Custody evaluator was Cole's friend. Sherry Walton, divorced 18 months ago. Similar story. Husband reported strange behavior, memory issues, was deemed unstable during proceedings. Both women ended up in relationships with Cole. Both relationships ended within 6 months after the divorce settlements were finalized. And the men? One committed suicide. The other lost everything. His job, his reputation, his relationship with his kid. Sebastian's jaw tightened. I'm not going to be victim number 4. And I'm going to make damn sure Cole never does this to anyone else. Bernardo was quiet for a long moment. What do you need from me? Prepare the divorce filing, but don't submit it yet. Get emergency custody paperwork ready. And find me every piece of legal precedent for criminal conspiracy in domestic situations. When we move, it needs to be swift and absolute. You're talking about a coordinated strike. Legal, criminal, social. Exactly. Sebastian pulled up a timeline. Cole and Marcy think they have another month before they make their move. I'm going to give them 2 weeks. 2 weeks where I appear to deteriorate even further, where they become overconfident, where they make mistakes. And then I remind them what happens when you underestimate your opponent. That evening, Sebastian returned home to find Marcy in the kitchen with Cole. They weren't even bothering to hide anymore. "Oh, Seb," Marcy said, her tone bright and false. Cole stopped by to drop off some meal plans. "You remember Cole, my trainer?" "Sure," Sebastian said, making his voice slightly slurred. He'd been practicing the act, confused, foggy, slightly unstable. "Nice to see you, man." Cole smirked. "You too, buddy. How's work going?" It's okay. Busy." Sebastian opened the refrigerator, fumbling with items. "Has anyone seen my protein shake? I made one this morning." Marcy exchanged a look with Cole. "Honey, we didn't make a shake this morning. Remember? You said you weren't hungry." "I did." Sebastian frowned, touching his temple. "God, I'm really out of it lately." "Maybe you should see a doctor," Cole suggested, his voice dripping with false concern. "Could be something serious. Stress could do crazy things to your mind." "Yeah, maybe." Sebastian shuffled toward the stairs. "I'm gonna go lie down." "Good idea," Marcy called after him. From his hidden camera feed in his office, Sebastian watched as Marcy and Cole immediately started laughing. "God, this is easier than I thought," Cole said. "He's completely out of it." "The dosage is perfect," Marcy replied. "Another week, and I think we can start the next phase." With the kid." "With the kid." Marcy's expression hardened. "We need to move faster." Sebastian's boss called again today. They're concerned enough that they might force him in a medical leave, which could actually work in our favor. Shows he's unstable for custody. Cole grinned. "You're brilliant, you know that? I learned from the best." She kissed him. "How long do we wait after the divorce to get married?" 6 months. Long enough that it doesn't look suspicious, short enough that we can start the next target. "The next target?" Cole shrugged. "This is what I do, babe. I've got my eye on a tech CEO in San Francisco. Divorced once already, 2 kids, net worth about $20 million. Marcy's face went pale. "Wait, what are you saying?" "I'm saying this has been fun, but it's business. You get your divorce settlement, I get my cut, and we both move on." "But you thought I was in love with you?" Cole laughed. "Marcy, you're beautiful and you're useful, but this is about money. It's always been about money." Sebastian watched as Marcy's world visibly crumbled. For a moment, he almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "You're using me," she whispered. "We're using each other," Cole corrected. "Don't act surprised. You were perfectly happy to destroy your husband and traumatize your son for a payout. I'm just being honest about my motivations." The conversation continued, but Sebastian had seen enough. He picked up his phone and texted Tanner. "Need you to do something for me. It's time to start phase 2. Chapter 5. The Infiltration. Tanner arrived at Sebastian's office the next morning, an industrial security firm in downtown Chicago where Sebastian's reputation as a strategic consultant was ironclad. Or at least, it had been before Marcy started drugging his coffee. "You look terrible," Tanner said, shutting the office door. "Which is perfect, actually, given what you're trying to pull off." "I haven't been sleeping much," Sebastian admitted. He'd been running on 3 hours a night for the past week, compiling evidence, planning contingencies. "But it's working. They think they're winning." "And you want me to what, exactly?" "Your text was cryptic." Sebastian pulled up his laptop. "Cole Villegas is arrogant and sloppy. He's done this before, which means there are victims. I found 2 ex-wives of men he targeted. One of them, Tiffany Jennings, is local. She's a therapist now, ironically. You want me to talk to her? I want you to become her friend. You're a psychology professor. You two run in similar circles. Go to the same conferences, maybe end up at the same coffee shop a few times. Gain her trust." Tanner frowned. "Seb, that's manipulation. It's information gathering. And I need to know if Cole is vulnerable anywhere. If he made mistakes with his previous targets that we can exploit." Sebastian's expression was grim. "I'm not above using every tool I have, Tanner. Now when my son's safety is at stake." "All right," Tanner said after a moment. "But if she asks, I'm telling her the truth about why I'm asking questions." "Fair enough." Over the next few days, the plan moved forward on multiple fronts. Tanner made contact with Tiffany Jennings at a psychology conference at Northwestern. Meanwhile, Sebastian continued his act at home, appearing increasingly confused and unstable. He accidentally sent a work email to the wrong client. He missed a dinner reservation with Marcy. He left the stove on twice. Each mistake was calculated, designed to build the narrative that he was falling apart. Marcy documented everything, taking photos, making notes. Sebastian knew, because he could see her doing it on his hidden cameras. She was building her case, gathering evidence of his supposed decline. She had no idea that every photo she took, every note she made, was being documented and turned by Sebastian's much more sophisticated surveillance system. But the real breakthrough came when Tanner called on Thursday evening. "I talked to Tiffany," Tanner said. "Seb, it's worse than we thought. Cole didn't just help her divorce her husband. He isolated her first, made her cut ties with friends, family. Then during the divorce, he controlled everything. What she said, what she wore to court, what evidence she presented. Did he drug the husband too?" She wouldn't confirm it directly, but she hinted that yes, her ex-husband had started acting strange, forgetting things. She thought at the time it was the stress of their marriage falling apart. Now she's not so sure. Does she know where Cole is vulnerable? "Money," Tanner said. "He's always desperate for money. He spends faster than he makes it. Luxury cars, designer clothes, high-stakes poker games." She said he once mentioned owing money to some serious people in Las Vegas. Sebastian felt a cold smile cross his face. "That's perfect." "How is that perfect?" "Because desperate men make mistakes. And I'm going to give Cole Villegas the opportunity to make a very big mistake." Sebastian's plan crystallized over the weekend. He would become the perfect mark, not just the confused husband being poisoned, but a man with accessible assets and poor judgment. Through his corporate contacts, he set up a fake investment opportunity, a can't-miss real estate deal that required immediate cash investment. He made sure to mention it loudly during a phone call while Marcy was in the next room. "50,000 gets me in on the ground floor," he said to his imaginary business partner. "And it's all in cash to avoid the SEC paperwork. Yeah, I can pull it from my private accounts tomorrow." He hung up and pretended not to notice Marcy standing in the doorway. "Big investment?" she asked casually. "Just some real estate thing," Sebastian said, waving it off. "Probably nothing." But over the next few days, he made sure to leave documents about the investment lying around. Bank statements showing liquid assets, information about the supposed property. And then, the piece of resistance, he mentioned that he was keeping the $50,000 in cash in his home safe because the bank was asking too many questions. He knew Cole would take the bait. Men like Cole couldn't resist easy money. What Cole didn't know was that Sebastian had installed a pressure sensor in the safe, motion-activated cameras in his office, and it filled the safe with marked bills that could be traced. When Cole inevitably tried to steal the money, Sebastian would have everything he needed: breaking and entering, theft, and the final nail in the conspiracy case. But Cole surprised him. Instead of breaking in himself, Cole convinced Marcy to steal the money. Sebastian watched the footage from his office camera as Marcy, his wife of 9 years, entered his home office on Tuesday afternoon. She knew the combination to his safe. He'd given it to her years ago, back when trust still existed between them. She opened the safe, took out the $50,000, and placed it in her gym bag. Then she did something Sebastian didn't expect. She stopped, looked at the money, and started to cry. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the empty room. "I'm so sorry." For a moment, watching from his car, Sebastian felt a flicker of something. Regret, maybe, or sadness for what they had once been. But then he remembered Jake's black eye, remembered his son saying Mom didn't stop him, and the feeling vanished. He called Bernardo. "She took the money," Sebastian said. "That's theft from a spouse, which in Illinois is a felony if it's over $10,000, Bernardo finished. "Do you want to call the police now?" "Not yet. I want to see where she takes it. I have GPS trackers in the bills." "You're playing a dangerous game, Sebastian. I'm playing the only game I know how to win." Chapter 6. The Trap. The GPS tracker led Marcy straight to Cole's apartment, a luxury high-rise in River North that was well beyond the means of a personal trainer. Sebastian watched from his car as she entered the building carrying the gym bag full of money. His phone buzzed. A text from Tanner. "Tiffany says Cole has a partner, someone who helps him identify targets, set up the schemes. She never met him but heard phone calls." Sebastian stared at the message. A partner. That changed things. He called Bernardo. "We might have a bigger conspiracy here. Can you pull records of anyone Cole does regular business with? Shell companies, business partnerships, anything. I'll have it by tomorrow morning." Sebastian spent the next 2 hours parked outside Cole's building, watching. Finally, around 7 p.m., Marcy emerged looking shaken. She drove home in a daze, and Sebastian followed at a distance. When he arrived home 20 minutes later, Marcy was in the kitchen, staring at nothing. "Hey," Sebastian said, maintaining his confused husband act. "Everything okay?" She jumped. "Jesus, you scared me." "Sorry. Long day." He fumbled with his keys, dropped them. "Work is killing me. I swear I can't remember half of what I'm supposed to be doing." Marcy watched him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "Seb, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you still love me?" The question caught him off guard. For a moment, the mask slipped, and something wrong must have shown on his face, because Marcy's expression crumbled. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I don't know how I got this far. I don't know how I—" "Marcy, what are you talking about?" She shook her head. "Nothing. I'm just tired. Long day." She went upstairs, leaving Sebastian in the kitchen. He watched her go, his mind racing. Was she having second? He checked his hidden cameras. In their bedroom, Marcy was on the phone with Cole. "I can't do this anymore," she was saying. "That thing with Jake, the drugging Seb, this is too far. We need to stop." Cole's voice came through tinny but clear. "We're too deep now, Marcy. You've already stolen the money. You're an accomplice. Then I'll give it back." "And say what?" "Sorry, honey, I stole 50 grand, but I changed my mind." "You think he'll just forgive you?" "I don't know. Maybe. He won't. And even if he did, I won't." Cole's voice turned cold. "You're in this with me. All the way. So here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow you're going to file for divorce. Claim Sebastian has been abusive and unstable. You're going to use the evidence we've built, and you're going to get that custody and settlement. And if you try to back out now, I'll make sure everyone knows you've been drugging your husband for months. You're threatening me? I'm protecting both of us. Now grow a spine and finish this." Sebastian listened to his wife cry after Cole hung up. Part of him, a very small part, felt sympathy. She'd been manipulated, used by a professional predator. But she'd also made choices. She'd chosen to hurt Jake. She'd chosen to poison Sebastian. She'd chosen money over her family. And now she'd have to face the consequences. The next morning, Sebastian received the records from Bernardo. Cole's partner was a lawyer named Alfonso Yates, who specialized in custody cases. Looking deeper, Sebastian found that Alfonso had been the custody evaluator in both of Cole's previous divorce schemes. He was the one who'd painted the husbands as unstable, who'd recommended the mothers get full custody. It was a neat setup. Cole seduced the wife, created evidence of the husband's instability, and Alfonso provided the official stamp of approval that made it all look legitimate. "We've got them," Sebastian told Bernardo. "All three of them. Conspiracy, fraud, extortion. The police need to be involved now," Bernardo insisted. "This is beyond civil court." "I know, but I want one more thing first." Sebastian's expression hardened. "I want them all in a room together. I want to look them in the eyes when their world falls apart." "Ow! Leave that to me." Sebastian spent the afternoon setting up the final play. He sent an email from a dummy account to Cole, pretending to be a wealthy potential mark, a divorcee looking for discreet personal training and life coaching. The meeting was set for Friday at 7 p.m. at a neutral location, the conference room at Sebastian's security firm. Then he called Marcy. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice strained. "About us. About everything that's been happening. Seb, please. 7 p.m. tomorrow in my office. Just you and me. We need to figure this out." There was a pause. "Okay, I'll be there." Finally, Sebastian called Alfonso Yates directly, using his Real identity this time. "Mr. Yates, my name is Sebastian Wilkinson. I'm going through a difficult divorce situation, and I need a custody evaluator. I've heard you're the best." "I appreciate that, Mr. Wilkinson. What's the situation?" "It's complicated. Can we meet tomorrow? 7 p.m.? I'm happy to pay for your time. Normally I book weeks in advance, but I happen to have an opening. Where's your office?" Sebastian gave him the address and hung up. All the pieces were in place. Friday at 7 p.m., Cole, Marcy, and Alfonso would all walk into that conference room expecting 3 different meetings. What they'd find instead was Sebastian Wilkinson, fully alert and very much in control, with police officers, lawyers, and enough evidence to bury them all. But first, he needed to prepare Jake. That evening, Sebastian sat down with his son in Jake's room. "Hey buddy, can we talk?" Jake looked up from his tablet. His black eye had faded to a yellow-green, but the wariness in his expression hadn't diminished. "Am I in trouble?" Jake asked quietly. "No, never." Sebastian pulled his son close. "Jake, I want you to know that things are going to change soon. Big changes. And some of it might be scary or confusing. Are you and Mom getting divorced?" Kids were so much smarter than adults gave them credit for. "Yes, we are. Because of Cole. Because of a lot of things. But mostly because your mom and I were not who we thought we were. And sometimes people make bad choices that hurt the people they love." Jake was quiet for a moment. "Well, I still see you. Every single day," Sebastian promised. "I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me, kiddo." A small smile crossed Jake's face. "Can I ask you something, Dad?" "Anything. Are you really forgetting things?" "Mom says you're sick." Sebastian looked at his son, this brave, smart, hurt little boy, and decided he deserved the truth. "No, buddy. I've been pretending. Your mom and Cole, they've been doing some bad things. And I needed them to think I didn't know so I could stop them." Jake's eyes widened. "Like a spy." "Exactly like a spy." Sebastian ruffled his hair. "But the mission's almost over. And after tomorrow, everything's going to be different. Better different. Much better." Chapter 7. The Convergence. Friday evening arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that made Chicago feel alive. Sebastian stood in the conference room of Wilkinson Security Consultants, surrounded by the tools of his former trade: surveillance monitors, secure communication equipment, and walls lined with commendations from his military service that reminded him who he really was. Not the confused, drugged husband Marcy thought she'd married, but a strategist who'd planned operations in hostile territory and survived. Tanner sat beside him, looking nervous. "You sure about this?" Confronting them all at once. "I'm sure." Sebastian checked his watch. 6:45 p.m. Everyone's in position. Bernardo's in the side office with the evidence. Detective Daryl Salas and his partner are waiting downstairs. They'll come up on your signal. And I've got Tiffany Jennings on standby via video call if we need testimony about Cole's previous schemes. Good. At exactly 6:55 p.m., Marcy arrived. She looked exhausted, her usually perfect makeup minimal, her designer clothes replaced by jeans and a sweater. She seemed smaller, somehow diminished. "Seb," She entered the conference room hesitantly. I wasn't sure you'd actually be here. Why wouldn't I be? Because, she trailed off, seeing something in his posture, his expression. You seem different. Do I? Sebastian's voice was cold and clear. No slurring, no confusion. Maybe I'm just finally awake. Marcy's face went pale. What do you? The door opened again. Cole Villegas strode in, confident as ever in his tight designer shirt and expensive watch. He stopped when he saw Marcy. What the hell? What's she doing here? I invited her, Sebastian said calmly. Have a seat, Cole. I don't know what kind of game this is, but I'm here to meet a client. You're here to meet me. Sit down. Something in Sebastian's voice made Cole pause. For the first time, uncertainty crossed his face. Marcy, what's going on? I don't know, she whispered. At 7:02 p.m., the final player arrived. Alfonso Yates, a thin man in his 60s with silver hair and an expensive suit, walked in carrying a leather briefcase. He stopped when he saw the room's occupants. Mr. Wilkinson? I wasn't expecting. Are these people part of your case? In a manner of speaking, Sebastian gestured to the remaining chair. Please sit. We have a lot to discuss. Alfonso looked like he wanted to leave, but something, perhaps curiosity, perhaps greed, made him stay. He took the seat farthest from the door. Sebastian stood at the head of the table, his military bearing evident now. No trace of the confused husband. He pulled up a screen behind him and clicked a remote. Let me tell you all a story, he began. It's about a personal trainer named Cole Villegas who developed a very profitable scheme. He targets successful married men, men with assets, stable careers, good reputations. He seduces their wives, turns them into accomplices, and systematically destroys the husbands through drugging, gaslighting, and manufactured evidence of instability. Cole's face had gone from confident to wary. Then, Sebastian continued. With the help of a corrupt custody evaluator named Alfonso Yates, he ensures the wife gets full custody and maximum settlement. After which, Cole moves on to his next target, leaving behind destroyed families and, in one case, a dead man who couldn't live with losing his children. This is insane, Cole said, standing. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down. Sebastian's voice cracked like a whip. Or I'll have a detectives downstairs arrest you right now for assault on a minor. Cole slowly sat back down. Marcy, Sebastian said, his voice softer now, I know Cole manipulated you. I know he played on your insecurities, your ambitions. But you made choices. You chose to drug me. You chose to steal from me. And worst of all, you chose to stand by while a grown man struck our 8-year-old son. Marcy's tears were flowing now. I'm sorry. God, Seb, I'm so sorry. I want to stop. I tried. When did you try to stop? Sebastian pulled up video footage. Marcy and Cole in the kitchen, laughing about drugging him. Was it before or after you called me boring and predictable? She flinched as if struck. Sebastian turned to the screen and began playing clips. The school's security footage of Cole hitting Jake. Audio recordings of Marcy and Cole planning the conspiracy. Video of Marcy stealing the $50,000. Financial records showing Cole's involvement in previous divorces. Testimony transcript from Tiffany Jennings and Sherry Walton about Cole's previous schemes. With each piece of evidence, the people at the table seemed to shrink. Cole's arrogance evaporated into rage, then fear. Alfonso went from indignant to calculating, clearly trying to figure out his legal exposure. Marcy just cried, her face in her hands. Here's what's going to happen, Sebastian said when the presentation ended. Detective Salas and his partner are downstairs. They have warrants for all three of you. Cole, you're facing assault on a minor, conspiracy to commit fraud, extortion, and theft. Alfonso, you're being charged as an accessory to fraud and professional misconduct. The state bar is also very interested in your activities. Marcy, he stopped, looking at his wife. Part of him wanted to destroy her completely. But he thought of Jake, thought of the child who'd already lost so much. Marcy, you're facing felony theft, conspiracy, and criminal poisoning. But I'm going to give you one chance, to mitigate this. You cooperate fully with the prosecution against Cole and Alfonso. You testify about everything they made you do, everything you did willingly. You sign over full custody of Jake to me, and you agree to supervise visitation only. Do that, and I'll recommend leniency to the prosecutor. You do that, Marcy whispered. After everything? Not for you. For Jake. He doesn't need both parents in prison. You bastard, Cole snarled, lunging across the table. You think you're so smart. The door burst open. Detective Daryl Salas and his partner, both large men with serious expressions, enter with handcuffs ready. Cole Villegas, you're under arrest for assault on a minor, Salas said, reading him his rights while his partner wrestled Cole's arms behind his back. Cole fought, screaming obscenities, threatening lawsuits. But Sebastian just watched him passively as the man who'd hurt his son was dragged away. Alfonso went quietly, his lawyer's mind already working on his defense. But Sebastian knew the evidence was overwhelming. The man's career was over. Marcy stood shakily. Seb, can we talk? Please? Just 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes before Detective Salas comes back for you, Sebastian said. Use them wisely. Tanner stepped out to give them privacy, though Sebastian kept the recording equipment running. He learned not to have conversations without documentation. I don't know what happened to me, Marcy began. I looked at our life, and I just felt empty, like I was living someone else's dream. And Cole, he made me feel exciting, dangerous. He told me I deserved more than a boring suburban life. So you try to destroy me. I wasn't thinking straight. He was in my head, telling me you were holding me back, that with your money I could be free. She looked up at him. When did you know? When Jake came home with the black eye and wouldn't talk about it. I knew something was very wrong. And you investigated. I'm good at investigating. You're good at a lot of things I took for granted. Marcy wiped her eyes. For what it's worth, I do love Jake. I never wanted to hurt him. But you did. You stood there and let Cole hit our son. I know. She was sobbing now. I was in so deep I couldn't see a way out. And when I finally realized what Cole really was, what he was really doing, it was too late. Sebastian handed her a tissue, his expression unreadable. You have a choice now. You can go to trial, drag this out for years, make Jake testify about what you did. Or you can take responsibility, cooperate with the prosecutor, and maybe salvage some kind of relationship with your son when you get out. I'll cooperate, she said immediately. Whatever you need. Just, please, tell Jake I'm sorry. Tell him I love him. Tell him yourself. When you've earned it. Detective Salas returned with his partner. Mrs. Wilkinson, we need you to come with us now. Marcy stood, looking back at Sebastian one last time. You were never boring, Seb. I was just too stupid to see it. Then she was gone, and Sebastian was alone in the conference room. Chapter 8. The Testimony. The following 3 weeks were a blur of legal proceedings, evidence submission, and media attention. The case of the personal trainer who'd orchestrated multiple divorce frauds became a local scandal, then a national story. News vans parked outside Sebastian's house. Reporters called at all hours. Through it all, Sebastian remained focused on 2 things: protecting Jake and ensuring justice was served. Tanner had moved in temporarily to help with Jake, taking the boy to school and activities while Sebastian dealt with lawyers and police. Jake was seeing a child psychologist, Dr. Esperanza Ferguson, who specialized in trauma. Slowly, the boy was beginning to heal, though he still had nightmares. He's remarkably resilient, Dr. Ferguson told Sebastian after one session. You've done everything right, been honest with him, made him feel safe, never spoken poorly of his mother despite having every reason to. He needs to form his own opinions about Marcy, Sebastian said. Not just accept mine. That's very mature of you. It's very difficult of me, Sebastian corrected. But it's what's best for Jake. The preliminary hearings began in November. Marcy, true to her word, cooperated fully with the prosecution. She testified about Cole's manipulation, the drugging scheme, the financial fraud. She broke down multiple times describing the day Cole hit Jake. I should have stopped him, she said on the stand, her voice barely audible. I should have protected my son. Instead, I told myself it was just one time, that it wouldn't happen again. But I knew. I knew Cole was dangerous, and I let him near my child anyway. Her testimony was devastating. The courtroom was silent except for her sobs. Cole's defense tried to paint her as a scorned woman lying for leniency, but the evidence Sebastian had compiled, audio, video, financial records, destroyed that narrative. Cole's previous schemes came to light, with Tiffany Jennings and Sherry Walton both testifying about similar experiences. "He told me my husband was holding me back," Tiffany said, "that I deserved better. He made me feel special, then turned me into someone I didn't recognize. By the time I realized what he was really after, I'd lost everything." Alfonso Yates tried to claim he'd been duped by Cole, that he hadn't known about the drugging or the systematic fraud. But his own emails betrayed him, communications with Cole discussing the marks and splitting percentages. By mid-December, it was over. Cole Villegas was sentenced to 15 years for assault on a minor, conspiracy to commit fraud, extortion, and multiple counts of theft. Alfonso Yates received 10 years and was disbarred. Marcy, in exchange for her cooperation and testimony, received 5 years with the possibility of parole after 3 for good behavior. Sebastian sat in the courtroom and felt nothing as the sentences were read. Not satisfaction, not anger, just a deep, exhausted relief that it was finished. After the sentencing, Bernardo pulled him aside. "You did it," the lawyer said. "Complete victory. Custody, assets, justice, everything you wanted." "Not everything," Sebastian replied. "Jake lost his mother. That's not a victory. She made her choices." "Yes, but he's the one paying for them." That evening, Sebastian and Jake sat together in the living room. Tanner had finally moved back to his own apartment, and it was just the two of them again. "Dad," Jake asked quietly, "is Mom really going to jail?" "Yes." "For how long?" "A few years. Maybe 3 or 4, if she's really good." Jake was quiet, processing. "Do you still love her?" Sebastian thought about how to answer. The easy thing would be to say no, to condemn her completely. But Jake deserved honesty. "I love who she used to be," Sebastian said carefully. "The woman I married, the mother who stayed up all night when you had the flu, who taught you to ride a bike. That woman I still love. But the person she became, the choices she made, those I can't forgive." "That's confusing. People are confusing, buddy. We're all complicated. Your mom did some terrible things, but she also did some good things. You want the good things." Jake leaned against him. "Can I still love her?" "Yes, you should. She's your mom. Nothing that happened changes that." "But she hurt me." "I know, and that was wrong. But people can be wrong and still be loved. You just have to love them carefully with boundaries." Jake seemed to accept this. After a moment, he asked, "Are you going to date anyone?" The question surprised Sebastian. "I haven't really thought about it." "Why?" "Because you shouldn't be alone. That would be sad." Sebastian smiled despite himself. "I've got you. I'm not alone. But what about when I'm at school? Or with friends? Then I'll learn to play video games or something." Jake giggled, the first real laugh Sebastian had heard from him in months. The sound was like sunlight breaking through clouds. Chapter 9. The Restoration. 6 months later, on a warm May afternoon, Sebastian stood in Jake's schoolyard watching his son play soccer with his friends. The black eye was long gone, replaced by the normal bruises and scrapes of an active 9-year-old. Jake was laughing, running, being a kid again. Tanner walked up beside him, carrying coffee from the shop across the street. "You're staring like a helicopter parent," Tanner said, handing him a cup. "I'm being vigilant. You're being paranoid." "Jake's fine." Seb, look at him. He's thriving. Sebastian knew his friend was right. The therapy had helped. The stability had helped. The knowledge that he was safe, that his father would protect him, had helped most of all. "Marcy called last night," Sebastian said. "From prison." Jake talked to her for about 5 minutes. "How'd it go?" "Awkward. She cried a lot." Jake was polite but distant. Sebastian sipped his coffee. "She's accepted that she destroyed their relationship. She says she's using the time to get therapy to figure out who she is without manipulation or greed driving her choices." "Think she means it?" "I don't know. I hope so. For Jake's sake." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the game. After a while, Tanner said, "You know, you did something remarkable here. You could have just gone to the police from the start, let them handle it." But you built an airtight case, protected Jake from as much trauma as possible, and ensured that Cole will never do this to another family. Cole and Alfonso both, Sebastian said. Though I heard Cole's having a hard time in prison. Apparently, men who assault children aren't popular with the other inmates. Karma's a bitch. Yes, it is. Jake scored a goal and immediately looked over to see if Sebastian had been watching. Sebastian gave him an enthusiastic thumbs up, and Jake beamed. What about you? Tanner asked. You dating yet? Jake was asking me about it last week. Seems very concerned that you're going to become a hermit. Sebastian laughed. I've been on a few dates. Nothing serious. Mostly I'm just focused on making sure Jake's okay, rebuilding my career reputation. Which is going well. Better than expected. Turns out exposing a major conspiracy and taking down a criminal network is good for business. I've had 3 Fortune 500 companies reach out about security consulting. The military hero turned security consultant exposes the darkness in his own home, Tanner said in a dramatic voice. It's like a movie. It's like a nightmare, Sebastian corrected. But we survived it. That evening, Sebastian made Jake's favorite dinner. Homemade pizza with extra pepperoni. They ate together at the kitchen table, talking about Jake's day, his upcoming camping trip with his scout troop, his plans for the summer. After dinner, as Sebastian was doing dishes, Jake appeared beside him with a piece of paper. I made you something in art class, Jake said shyly. It was a drawing, stick figures that were clearly meant to be Sebastian and Jake, standing in front of a house with the sun overhead. In the corner, in careful 9-year-old handwriting, were the words, "My dad is a hero." Sebastian felt his throat tighten. This is the best thing anyone's ever given me, buddy. Really. He pulled Jake into a hug. Thank you. Later that night, after Jake was asleep, Sebastian sat in his office looking at the drawing. On his desk were copies of all the evidence files. Not the originals, those were with the prosecutors, but copies he'd kept. Reminders of what had happened, what they'd survived. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. Is this Sebastian Wilkinson? Sebastian. Who is this? Unknown. My name is Michael Maxwell. You don't know me, but I heard about your case. I think my wife is doing the same thing to me. She's at a personal trainer, and I've been feeling foggy, forgetting things. Can we talk? Sebastian stared at the message. He thought about ignoring it, about putting this chapter of his life behind him completely. He'd done his part. He'd protected his son, gotten justice, exposed the conspiracy. But then he thought about the other man who'd gone through this, the one who'd committed suicide rather than lose his children. He thought about how close he'd come to missing the signs, to becoming another victim. Sebastian, meet me tomorrow at my office. 2 p.m. Bring documentation of anything suspicious, financial records, emails, strange behaviors. Don't let your wife know you're coming. Michael, thank you. God, thank you. I thought I was going crazy. Sebastian, you're not crazy. And you're not alone. See you tomorrow. Sebastian set down his phone and looked at Jake's drawing again. My dad is a hero. Maybe he was. Or maybe he was just a father who loved his son enough to fight when fighting mattered. Either way, he'd won the battle that counted, the one for his family's future. And if that battle had taught him anything, it was that evil flourished when good men did nothing. Cole was in prison, but Sebastian knew there were others like him out there, preying on families, destroying lives. If he could help stop even one more, if he could spare another father the agony he'd endured, then the nightmare he'd survived would have meaning beyond just his own family survival. Sebastian Wilkinson closed his laptop, turned off his office light, and went upstairs to check on Jake one more time. His son was sleeping peacefully, safely, in a home where he was loved and protected. Everything else, the revenge, the justice, the systematic destruction of his enemies, all of it had been for this. A child sleeping without fear, a future restored, a family saved. And that, Sebastian thought, was the truest victory of all. The end. Epilogue. 3 years later, Sebastian Wilkinson stood at the podium of a law enforcement conference in Washington, D.C., addressing a room full of detectives, family court judges, and victim advocates. Coercive control and divorce fraud represent a growing threat to families across America, he said, his presentation showing the statistics he'd compiled. Since exposing the Villegas-Yates conspiracy, we've identified 17 similar schemes operating in 12 states. These predators are sophisticated, organized, and they know how to exploit legal and emotional vulnerabilities. In the audience, Michael Maxwell sat with his 12-year-old daughter, who he'd successfully retained custody of after Sebastian had helped him expose a similar plot. Beside him sat 3 other men Sebastian had assisted in the past 2 years, all fathers who'd been targeted by con artists using variations of Cole's scheme. But they can be stopped, Sebastian continued, with proper documentation, strategic evidence gathering, and coordinated legal action. More importantly, with awareness, knowing the warning signs, trusting your instincts, and refusing to let fear or embarrassment prevent you from seeking help. After the presentation, several attendees approached him with questions, stories, requests for assistance. Sebastian answered what he could, distributed his contact information, and made connections between people who could help each other. Among the crowd was Marcy. She'd been released on parole 6 months earlier and was working as an administrative assistant while continuing therapy. She stood at the back of the room, wearing modest clothes, her once designer appearance replaced by simple practicality. When the crowd cleared, she approached hesitantly. "That was a good presentation," she said quietly. "Thank you." Sebastian's voice was cordial but distant. They'd reached a place of civil coexistence for Jake's sake, but the wounds were still there. "Jake mentioned you're dating someone seriously now. A professor. Her name is Dr. Janine Summers. She teaches criminal psychology at DePaul. That's appropriate." Marcy managed a small smile. "I'm happy for you," Seb really. "How are your sessions with Jake going?" "Better. Slowly better. He's talking to me more, though there's still a lot of hurt." She looked down. "I'm writing him letters. Everything I wish I'd said. Everything I'm learning in therapy about why I made those choices. My therapist says he might not read them now, but someday, when he's older, maybe they'll help him understand." "Maybe," Sebastian agreed. "I saw Cole got another 5 years added to his sentence for assault on an inmate." "Yes. He tried to recruit someone to help him run a similar scheme from prison. The inmate reported him." "Good." Marcy's expression hardened. "He destroyed a lot of lives, including mine. I know I'm responsible for my choices, but he saw something vulnerable in me and exploited it. That's what predators do." They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Finally, Marcy said, "Thank you for giving me a chance at redemption. For not completely destroying me when you had every right to. I didn't do it for you. I did it for Jake. I know, but I'm grateful anyway." She turned to leave, then stopped. "You were never boring, Seb. You were steady and loyal and good. I was too broken to see that those things were valuable. I hope Jake grows up to be like you, not like me." She left before Sebastian could respond. That evening, Sebastian video called Jake, who was spending the weekend at Tanner's house with Tanner's 2 kids. "Hey, Dad." Jake's face filled the screen, grinning. "We're making S. Moraes later. Sounds fun. Not too much sugar, though, okay? Tanner already said we can have 3 each. He's way cooler than you." "Thanks, buddy. Love you too." "Love you, Dad." Jake's expression grew more serious. "I saw Mom today. At your conference." "Did you? How was that?" "Weird, but okay. She asked if I got her letters." "Did you?" "Yeah. I haven't read them all yet. Some of them are hard." Jake paused. "Is it okay that I'm not ready to forgive her?" "Jake, you can feel however you feel. There's no right or wrong timeline for healing. The fact that you're willing to talk to her at all shows how strong you are." "I learn from the best," Jake said, echoing words he'd heard Sebastian say about his own late father. After they hung up, Sebastian sat in his home office, the same room where he'd first discovered the conspiracy 3 years ago. The space looked different now. The surveillance equipment was mostly gone, replaced by photos. Jake at his soccer games, Jake and Sebastian hiking, Jake with his new stepmother-to-be Janine, who'd become an important part of their lives. On his desk, framed, was the drawing Jake had made that night. "My dad is a hero." Beside it was a new addition, a plaque from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, recognizing his work helping fathers escape coercive control situations. Sebastian picked up both items, studying them. The drawing represented the personal victory, protecting his son, preserving his family. The plaque represented something larger, using his skills, his experience, his pain to help others avoid the same nightmare. His phone buzzed. "Janine, movie night still on? Jake said you promised to watch that superhero thing with him tomorrow." "Sebastian, wouldn't miss it. See you at 7? "Janine, perfect. Love you." Sebastian smiled. 3 years ago, his life had been a carefully constructed lie. Now it was messy, more complicated, but infinitely more real. He lost a marriage, but gained clarity. He'd been betrayed, but learned to trust again. He'd been drugged and manipulated, but emerged stronger. Most importantly, he'd protected his son and helped protect other sons and daughters from the same fate. As he shut down his computer for the night, Sebastian thought about Cole Villegas sitting in a maximum security prison, about Alfonso Yates disbarred and disgraced, about Marcy trying to rebuild a shattered life, and about all the families they tried to destroy who were now safe. Justice, Sebastian had learned, wasn't always immediate or perfect, but when pursued with intelligence, patience, and precision, the same skills that had made him good at his job, it was achievable and satisfying. Very satisfying indeed. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.